So today, guys, we're going to be talking about how to improve your reading skills. It doesn't matter what level you are today, because I will be recommending things for a variety of levels. So if your level is very low, in your opinion, I will recommend some things for you. If your level is more advanced, I will recommend things for you too. Because, of course, depending on your level, you don't really want to be reading the same materials, and I will explain why later. So, let's talk about why reading is important. It is one of the things you can do, especially during this quarantine period, that can help your English overall, right? So it helps improve your writing, your spelling, your grammar. And you're probably thinking, well, how does it help me improve grammar? Well, you get to see the structures in context. Instead of just reading rules, you get to see everything in context. How is it used? What is the structure? Okay? Because sometimes students of mine, they produce very good sentences, grammatical sentences, but maybe the order of the sentence is a little bit non-native sounding. So by reading, you can pick up on these kind of structures. So as a result, you can start to use them in your writing or even your speech, and you'll sound more, I don't want to say more native, but you get what I mean, right? You sound a little bit more natural. That's the word I'm looking for. Of course, vocabulary, you can pick that up. And if you find a text that does have audio, so an audio book or something like that, then it can improve your listening and your pronunciation. So it's a really, really good all-rounder. How do I improve my reading skills? I hear you ask. I get asked this all the time. So I've got quite a few tips for you. If you have a low level of English, read things that are designed for your level. I cannot stress this enough. Many students of mine, friends of mine, whoever, who are learning English, they see a book that is circulating, it's the trend to read. For example, Game of Thrones. But they are only an A2, B1 level. And they come to me and they say, Emma, Game of Thrones is really hard. I don't understand it. I don't like it because it's so hard. And that's because it's not written for your level. You need to find something that's written for your level. And if you're thinking, what should I read? Don't worry, I will recommend some materials for you, okay? But choose something that is designed for your level. Don't go straight into reading Game of Thrones because it's really hard, unless you're a more advanced level. But even for natives, it's tricky. The second tip I want to talk about is use graded readers and parallel readers. So I'm going to switch over to big fat face mode. Bam. And I'm going to show you exactly what a graded reader is and what a parallel reader is. So what I've got here is Frankenstein, you can see. So Frankenstein, this one is level 3. You could probably see at the side there. So this is designed for, I think it's like intermediate, pre-intermediate. I think it's intermediate level. The thing with graded readers is that they take normal stories and they adapt them for certain levels. So you need to make sure you get the right level. I see so many students, they head to the library in Bristol, because the library in Bristol is really good for graded readers, actually. They head to the library in Bristol and they are maybe an A2 level. And they pick up a B2 level graded reader. And they say, Emma, I don't like graded readers. They're boring. They're too difficult. And I have to tell them, look, that's because you've picked one that is too high. You need to pick one for your level. That is the purpose. And I can't stress that enough. So with graded readers, they're not only adapted, but sometimes they have activities. This one doesn't have activities, but I do have another one that does. So this one here, this one does have activities. And if you're curious about which graded readers to get, I will link some down in the description. But yes, so you can read a little section, and then after they have activities, I can't find them now, I don't have the time, I can't be bothered. But make sure, yes, you get one for your level, you can see your level here, and get it with audio, all right? Get them with audio, then you can listen at the same time as reading, all right? The next thing is parallel readers. You're probably thinking, what's a parallel reader? Well, check out this. This is in Spanish, okay? You see here, check out this page. It's in Spanish. This page is in English, all right? So what it does is it translates the text for you. It has it in your target language. So this, I could even use it if I were learning English, if I were a Spanish speaker, yeah? But I have one page in English. I read the Spanish side. And if there's a word I don't know, instead of getting out my phone and translating, or maybe there's a phrase I don't understand and I need to translate the whole phrase, instead of wasting time, I just go over to the other side and I see it over here. And what's really nice is that they don't translate it word for word like Google Translator does. They translate it in a way that sounds very natural in both languages. Make sense? So you can see how it sounds naturally in Spanish or whatever language you're learning, and how it sounds natural in English. All right? So I definitely recommend those. Any questions so far? I should have got some water. There's no quarantine in Indonesia. What? I thought you guys were quarantined in Indonesia. What types of apps can you offer text audio simultaneously? I don't understand what you mean. Do you mean apps where you read and you can listen at the same time? Is that what you mean? BBC Learning English has some graded novels. Yeah, I'm sure they do. I haven't checked them out, to be honest. But there are loads, absolutely loads. No, my coffee wasn't Corona, mate. Don't worry. It's we have a phrase in English and we say, it just went down the wrong way, meaning like, I was talking, a bit of spit or something just went down the wrong pipe. Anyway, back to the lesson. So use graded readers or parallel readers. It doesn't matter what level you are because they are designed for different levels. So the next one, read something that you enjoy. Now, so many students, they ask me, Emma, what book should I read? This is more advanced students, okay? So they're very capable of reading any text, pretty much. And they ask me, what books do you recommend? The problem with this is it's like asking people what their favourite colour is, or what their favourite TV shows are, or what's their favourite food. And then you choose your favourite TV show, colour and food based on your friend's opinion. No, it's all really personal. So let's say you really enjoy murder mystery. Okay, you really like murder mystery books in your native language. Find some murder mystery books in English. And if you find that they're too hard, then, guys, get a graded reader, okay? They write so many different ones, or a parallel text as well. They're really, really, really good. So find something you enjoy. Maybe you enjoy football and you enjoy reading the news about football in your native language. Instead, go and check out the BBC website and read about football in English. Tip 4, don't translate every word you don't understand. When I first started learning Spanish some years ago, I got a book that was way above my level, and I started just translating everything because I couldn't understand everything. And so I just got my translator and I was translating everything, and it would take me about an hour to read one page. No exaggeration, an hour to read one page. And I found that I wasn't reading for fun. I was reading to just translate the page. So when you start reading, find something that's appropriate for your level. Read it for gist. Now, reading for gist, if you're a teacher, you'll be familiar with this term. But to read for gist means to read a text to get the overall idea. Okay? So you're not reading for specific information. To read for gist means to read for general information, to get the idea of the text and what it's about. When you do that, you will be so surprised at how much you actually understand. If you're reading for gist and you don't understand anything, then the text is too hard for you. And that's not something to be ashamed about. Okay? Just find something that's a little bit easier. Tip 5. If you're translating every single word, then choose something easier to read. That's what I just said. So don't push yourself. The moment that you start forcing this and you're reading something that is too difficult, you're not going to enjoy it and you're not going to want to continue. You're going to become demotivated. If you find something easier, again, that's nothing to be ashamed of. It makes so much more sense. It is 100 times more logical if you choose something that is easier to read and enjoy it and you read that every day than it is choosing something that's very difficult. You read it once for 10 minutes, realize you hate it, and then you never read it again. Right? Makes sense. So, tip 6. Try to find a text which comes with audio. So, as I said, a lot of graded readers come with audio. Sometimes the graded readers don't have the CD and they have the audio online. So, pay attention to that. If what you found doesn't come with audio, the next best thing, it's really not the best, but it's the next best thing you can do, is copy and paste the text into Google Translator, and then you press the little speaker button and it will read the text out aloud. And what is nice about Google Translator in this respect is that when it reads the text, it will read it normal speed the first time. But if you click it again for it to read the text again, it will read it slower the second time. So you can listen to the pronunciation of words. All right, so that's really handy. Now the final tip, and then I'm going to stop, have a breather, get some water, and then check your messages because I've not really looked. Final tip. Tip number 7. Read books in English that you've already read in your first language. So I've done this with Harry Potter. I've read some of Harry Potter in Spanish and I started to read it in Portuguese, but I found it too difficult for me in Portuguese. So I stopped and I started reading other things in Portuguese. I should maybe go back because I'm sure my Portuguese has improved a little bit since I was in Lisbon. But I recognized, actually, even though I know the story of Harry Potter, I find it difficult to read this book in Portuguese. And so I wasn't enjoying it. If I'm not enjoying it, it becomes torture, right? It just becomes a chore. You don't want to do it anymore. And it wants to be something fun, right? It needs to be something fun. Otherwise, you're not going to do it more. So some years ago, I read Animal Farm by George Orwell. I completely recommend this book. It's really good. Definitely for intermediate and above learners, okay? So I really enjoyed Animal Farm and I decided to buy Animal Farm in Spanish. What's nice is that it's really small is the book, right? So it's, in theory, quicker to read than some bigger books like Game of Thrones, where they're this big, each book. I got this to read in Spanish because I already knew the story in English. So I started reading this and I could just pick up new vocabulary, expressions, ways of saying things. And that was really, really helpful for me. So that's useful. Now, what should I read? Before I take a look at this, I'm going to go through some comments. I'm really sorry, guys. I haven't really been checking them. So this just gives me time to breathe. Oh, thank you, Ikara. You're here again. Hello, thank you. I'm so slow at reading. Yes, so if you're slow, it means you need to practice. I get this so much. How do I improve my reading? I'm so slow. Read. The reason why you're slow is because you're not used to it. Read. That's it. It's just, it's like saying, Emma, I don't know how to ride a bike. How can I ride a bike? Do I watch YouTube videos on how to ride a bike? Or do I actually get on a bike and start practicing and learning how to ride it? You'd go with the latter option, right? You'd go with the latter. So, like in that context, do I just watch videos about how to improve my reading? Or do I actually start reading and applying those tips that I learned in the videos and start improving my reading? That's what you need to do, guys. That's what you need to do. There's no magic potion. You're not going to read and then the next day be like, wow, I'm so fast at reading. Think about when you were a child and you started reading, yeah? When you were young and you started reading, did you start reading perfectly overnight? If you did, then I'd be very surprised. What level are Harry Potter's books? That's a good question, Anna, because they actually range. The way that J.K. Rowling wrote the books was so that they were designed for like 8-year-olds. The very first one, right? She designed the first one so they were for very young readers. But she knew that her audience would grow older. So with every book, it's written at a more advanced level because she wrote the books in a way that they would grow with the reader. Make sense? So the first book was written for 8-year-olds and the last book was written more for 16, 17, 18-year-olds. You understand? So the language gets more advanced and it also gets darker, does the storyline. So it's very interesting how she did that. She was very, very conscious about that, was J.K. Rowling. Audible is really good as well. I'm yet to try Audible, but I've heard many people who use it and they really like it, but I haven't tried Audible myself. Okay, some people are asking for what books they should read, and I'm going to get to that, hence why it says, what should I read? But any other questions? I'm really sorry if I'm missing some, but I'm just skimming through. Yeah, Google Translator does have a robotic voice, but in times where you can't get the audio, you got to go with the second best option. And the second best option doesn't mean it's the best. That's why it's second best. Do I recommend short story books? Yeah, of course. Why is understanding a newspaper harder than a storybook? Very good question. I am going to recommend some materials right now to make your life a little bit easier if you want to read the news. Because the way that the news is written, the same in every language, it's written in a very specific way. We don't write books the way we write poems. We don't write poems the way we write newspapers. We don't write newspapers the same way we write blog posts, okay? Our language changes, and this is why it's really good to read a diverse range, not just reading stories, but maybe checking the news every so often as well. So if you are A1 to B1 level, what this means is absolute beginner, let's say, because there are graded readers for A1 level. If you are a beginner to pre-intermediate, intermediate level, I recommend graded readers. I'm going to link some in the description. Parallel readers, again, I'll link those in the description. The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime. Now, I recommend this book. It's written for natives, and it is the story of an autistic boy, written in the first person, from his perspective, and he spots a dog that has been killed. And he tries to find the murderer. So if you like murder mystery, then this is a really good one for you. But it's not really dark, it's very light-hearted, it's very innocent because this boy is autistic, so he's talking about the way he sees the world and understands the world. And the reason why I recommend this is because the structures are very simple and it's written in the first person. The next one I recommend for A1 to B1 level learners is 13 Reasons Why. Now, this one is a lot darker. The story is darker because it's about a girl called Hannah who commits suicide, and she leaves tapes, like cassette tapes, with 13 reasons why she killed herself. And on each side of the tape is a reason, and the reason is a person she knows. And each person who is mentioned in these tapes receives these tapes to listen to find out how they contributed to her suicide. So it's very, very dark. And there is a TV series out about it on Netflix if you would prefer to watch the Netflix series, or maybe you want to watch the Netflix series first and then read the book, or vice versa. The reason why I recommend this is because it's completely written in the present tense, which is very unusual for books. It's completely in the present tense. There may be a couple of exceptions where they write in the past, of course, but it's written in the present because it's from the perspective of a boy called Clay, who I won't tell you much about him because I don't want to ruin it, but he discovers these tapes, he's on the tapes, and he tries to piece things together and work out this kind of puzzle that Hannah left him. And it's all written from his perspective in the present tense. If you're more interested in the news, then I recommend BBC News Round. So everyone knows the BBC, but if you are a lower level, I always recommend News Round. BBC News Round is a website that is designed for children and teenagers. So it's designed for native speakers, but it's for younger people in the UK to understand the news because, of course, children don't always understand the news or they find it boring. So News Round adapts the news for English children so they can understand the stories that are going on in the world. So it's really nice if you want to read the news or watch the news because they have video clips there. You can take a look at that, and it's for lower levels. The next one is a website called Breaking News English. This is actually a website for English learners where this guy takes news articles and adapts them for different levels. So you can see the different levels and choose the one that you think is best for you, read the article, and they also come with audio, so you can listen to the article as well. With some of them, he also provides not just British pronunciation, but he provides American pronunciation as well. So they're good for if you want to hear the same article spoken in two different accents. All right, it's really, really useful. The last one I want to recommend is Readlang, and I think this is also an app, although I could be wrong here, but this is a website, app, whatever, where you can read a text for free, and as you're reading, you can highlight words that you don't know, click, and it will translate the word for you. So you don't need to go into Google Translator and translate everything. You can just click on a word and it will translate the word for you. Now, if you pay to upgrade, I don't know how much it is to upgrade, you'll have to check it out. But if you pay to upgrade, you can translate phrases. So maybe there's an idiom or something. You can highlight the phrase, click it, and it will show you the translation. But that is only with the paid version at the time of recording this live. All right? At the time of recording, you can click and it will translate individual words, but you can pay to translate phrases. Any questions so far? Our contemporary... Everyone's really quiet in the chat. Everyone must be either gone or really focusing. But I hope that these are helpful. I will get on to B2 and above in a moment. What's your idea about skimming and scanning? That's more for exam preparation, Dexter. So if you're not familiar with skimming and scanning, I know you'll be familiar, Dexter, but I'm just explaining it for everyone else. Skimming is like reading for gist. So skimming is when you read a text to get the general idea, and scanning is when you're looking for very specific information. And this is a really good exam technique. So if you're preparing for IELTS or Cambridge exams or whatever, you should be learning about skimming and scanning. I'm not going to talk about that today because it's specific to exams. I just want to talk about reading for fun in general. How long have you been learning Spanish before you went for the books? I think I started straight away. With books. So I was kind of forced to do some Spanish lessons when I was at university because I was going to Spain the next year as an exchange, you know, for university, like a student exchange. So I started with everything straight away. I started with graded readers, like A1 level graded readers. I started with those. I would sometimes push myself and I would get A2 level readers. Woo, I know. But A2, it's so scary now. But yeah, back then, to read something at A2 level, it was like, whoa, I don't understand. Like, they start talking in the past and you're like, I've not learned about the past yet. But it kind of prepared me a little bit for when I did start learning about the past tenses in my lessons, because it's like, yes, I remember seeing that in my book. Yeah, now I understand how to construct it and conjugate it and so on. If my city or country doesn't offer books, then what do you recommend? So, you can get e-readers online. You have no excuse, Esther. No excuse. And I'm saying this because I know everyone's in quarantine right now. So I know that libraries are closed and I know that bookshops are also closed. So you can find graded readers online. I will be talking about graded readers on Instagram today, so keep your eye out for that in my stories, I'm just saying. But if you can't find graded readers online, you can order them. So maybe on Amazon, you can order some on Amazon. If you can't find those, like if you don't get any post, then I just recommend reading articles online. If you look at Read Lang. If you look at Read Lang, you can get them for free on there and you can read there. If not, read the news. That's what I recommend. So there's plenty of free things online, but it's just finding where they are, isn't it? It can be tricky. Names of some historic books, please. I'm going to get to that. Amazon Kindle has a built-in translator, but the dictionaries themselves are somewhat strange. That's interesting. I don't have a Kindle, so yeah, that's really good to know. I didn't know that. I'm not going to talk about skimming and scanning today because it's specific to exams, and I'm not going to talk about exams. Good. Okay. Great. So my favourite book is The Alchemist. I was just reading that. I've actually got it down here. I was reading it too. I definitely recommend The Alchemist. It's really good. Definitely makes you think about life and so on. Anyway, let's go on to B2 plus levels. So we've talked about A1 and B1 levels. Now let's talk about B2 levels and above. If you are at an upper intermediate or advanced or proficient level, you should be reading anything that you're interested in. Anything. So when people ask me, hi Emma, what books do you recommend for advanced students? I normally tell them anything. Read anything. Again, it's like asking, Emma, what's your favourite colour? Because I don't know what colour I like. My colour choice, my colour preference is very personal. So telling you what my favourite colour is doesn't mean that it's going to be your favourite colour too. You know what I mean? It's the same with books. What I really liked The Alchemist. But I know some people will hate it. So it's useless for me to recommend books. So I'm going to show you how you can find books yourself based on ones that you already like. So here are some websites. Jelly Books, you get access to a free section of a book. And you may be thinking, well, how are they able to do that? Is that legal? And it is. It's completely legal. They just give you a section of a book and you basically exchange your reading data for access to a section of that book. Does that make sense? So that's how they get back from you. So it's free. You don't have to pay with money, but you pay with data. Make sense? Kind of like Facebook. We pay for Facebook with our data. Jelly Books is the same. But don't worry, it's just your reading data. It's nothing super personal to the level of Facebook and Instagram. It's just your reading data. So, whoever asked before, I'm really sorry who it was. I don't remember what your name was, but who asked, what do we do to find books online for free to read? Look at Jelly Books. Okay, Jelly Books has some free ebooks there, just sections of ebooks that you can read. The next one I suggest is Your Next Read. So this suggests some classic books and also ones that are very popular right now, which are, ones that are popular now, ones that are popular in general, some classic books. And if you're looking for something very current, let's say, like what's everyone reading right now, have a look at Your Next Read. All right. The next one is Goodreads. So Goodreads, you put the books in the system that you have read and that you like, and it will kind of calculate those books together to find a theme to suggest new books that you may like. So let's say you put in Harry Potter, you put in, I don't know, what's that really, oh God, there's a really common one. I don't remember the name of it. Oh, it's no. Damn. There's a really, it's on the tip of my tongue. Pratchett. Oh, guys, help me out. Is it Terry Pratchett? I don't remember. Anyway, let's imagine that you put in Harry Potter and you put in, I think it's Terry Pratchett, Terence Pratchett. Anyway, his books. It will probably suggest something like Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. Okay, a really similar book to those. Yeah, people still haven't said. Yeah, I don't remember the name. I think it's Terence Pratchett. Never mind. Anyway, you can put those in, ones that you've read and you like, and it will recommend books that are really similar to that one. Which book? This is really interesting because it gives you some categories and you choose the kind of book that you feel like reading and it will suggest that book to you. So it will show categories like, for example, funny and serious, and you move this little cursor, this little pointer, to determine whether you want a more serious book or a more funny, laid-back book. Do you want something very serious or not serious? Do you want something with horror, not horror? That kind of thing. Now, people still didn't get the guy. Oh, I don't remember his name. I know his last name's Pratchett, but never mind. Not important. I mean, the guy's important, but... But that is it. Do we have any questions about reading that you feel I can help you with? If it's anything to do with exams, then I'm not really going to talk about it today because exams are very, very, very specific and I'm just talking about improving your reading in general. I love books about traveling. That's really good. Lord of the Rings. Yeah, I have The Hobbit and The Hobbit isn't too difficult. I mean, I'm a native, I know that. But I mean, from a teacher's perspective, I do like to read these books and think, how difficult would this book be for a learner? So I'm judging it based on that, not, oh, it's easy for me. Is it easy for a learner? That's what I'm thinking. My first book was Hatchet. Good. Terry Pratchett. Yeah, thank you, Michael. I thought it was Terry Pratchett. I couldn't remember if it was Terry Pratchett or Terence Pratchett. But I mean, Terry is short for Terence. So his name would be Terence anyway. But I don't know what he calls himself. I don't know if it was Terry or Terence. C1 level is any book. Yes, as I said, B2 plus, anything you're interested in, anything. Read news articles, read scientific papers if that's what you need. Or if you don't know what to read, use these websites here to find suggestions based on things that you do like. If you don't know what you like, then go with something like Which Book. So Which Book, you just put in what you feel like reading, and it will recommend a book based on that. Thank you, Icaro, that's really kind. Harry Potter is a must-read anyway. Yeah, but I mean, many people would say, like, the Bible is a must-read, so it depends on what you like, doesn't it, really? It completely depends on what you like. The problem during reading is getting the meaning of words. Well, I've already suggested some tips to get around that in this life, if you were paying attention. Bridget Jones's Diary. I really need to read this, Natalia. I need to read it because I've seen the films and I do like the films, but I've never read the books. Apparently they are really good. Well, it was that good they made it into a film, so. But then again, in saying that, they made 50 Shades of Grey into a film, so. I don't recommend 50 Shades of Grey. I really don't. It's so terribly written. But again, it's personal preference, personal choice. It was one of the best-selling books. Many people loved it. But for me personally, it was just so bad. So badly written. Parallel reading, I'm surely going to try this. Yes, if you want to try it, I do have some linked in the description that you can go and try for different languages. If I don't have your language there, then you can just search for it. I couldn't put all the languages in the world, sorry, but you can definitely, you can definitely find a book in your language for parallel texts, definitely. There's one for everything. I love The Circle. Interesting. I haven't read that one. I always read motivational books. Yes. What about B1? Should I go with B1 or B2? If you are level B1, then read a level B1 book, right? You can read a level B2. You can. But the problem is some people who are B1 and then they read a B2, they realize that there is a massive jump. And they think, whoa, I don't understand anything. I'm not going to read this anymore. And they stop. So it's up to you. It's really up to you. When I first started learning Spanish, I read A1 and A2 level books. But I knew that I was out of my depth when it came to A2 level books. And I wasn't going to understand everything. So I didn't bother wasting my time translating everything because I knew I wasn't at that level yet. You can read it if you want. It's personal preference. But there is a reason why these books are designed for specific levels. All right? But you also need to bear in mind that sometimes your level can be mixed. And this is really common. So, for example, my Spanish listening skills are really good. They're a lot higher than my speaking skills and my grammar. So, even though you may be a B1 level in your school, in your class, your reading could very well be a B2 C1 level. It is very normal to have different levels when it comes to your skills, right? So your writing may be lower than your speaking and so on. That's really normal. Something to bear in mind. It's so individual. It's so individual, is reading. Animal Farm, yes. I've got that in Spanish and in English. But I think this is it. what level's Harry Potter? I already spoke about this, Ivana. I explained about it, and I don't really want to explain it again because it's really long. I don't want to be repetitive, but Harry Potter is very unique, and I explained about it earlier. What books have you read? Oh my god, so many. A lot. Not a lot. It makes it sound like I read all day, every day, and I really don't. But if I'm traveling or something like that, I will take a book with me and I will read the book on the plane, I will read the book on the beach, you know, things like that. But good. Okay, I am going to leave it there for now, guys, because I don't see any other questions that I either haven't answered or that relates to today's lesson. So thank you so much for joining today's live. I will put the PDF with all the links and everything down in the description after today's live, so you can go and check out those websites and read the tips again if you like. Have a fantastic weekend, and please can you share my channel with your friends, family, teachers, students, whoever, because I've had so many people discover my channel recently and they have told me, like, thank you, Emma, so much for doing these lives because you give me a bit of a distraction in this chaos that we are in right now. And thank you for being useful. Thank you for doing this for free and in your free time and unpaid and things like that. Like, I just would really appreciate it if people shared my channel with others to help them. They don't have to subscribe. I don't care about that. But I do care that I'm helping other people. And the only way I can help other people is by you guys sharing this, because I can only share so much. I can only share on my own pages and my own social media. So when I've done that a billion times, yeah, I'm at that point preaching to the choir, aren't I, if you want another expression. So I would really appreciate it if you share my channel, my pages, whatever, just to help other people, especially during this period, because they're locked in and it's really boring and depressing. And I hope I provide a little bit of happiness, a smile to someone in the world. Anyway, guys, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I will post the schedule for next week's lives over the weekend sometime. And stay safe. Stay inside. Anyway, thank you guys. Please share. That is it. See you guys. Bye-bye.